Amitofo. As we have seen from the example in the Visualization Sutra, Madame Videhi, being overwhelmed by the suffering in this world, asked Buddha Shakyamuni to tell her of a place where suffering did not exist. Instead of directing her to the Western Pure Land, he displayed all the Buddha lands for her so that she could choose one for herself. This is unlike those of us who want others to accept our opinions. I have been practicing this method. It's great. You should try it. When others have different ideas and viewpoints, this will often disrupt the harmony of the group, and it is the very thing that we should carefully guard against. The best way to introduce Buddhism is to provide a general introduction to the Mahayana teachings and let others choose whichever method they prefer. Those who prefer Buddha name chanting can practice together. Those who prefer meditation can do likewise. In this way, everybody has a place for cultivation, and there is no need to pressure anyone into accepting our method. All methods are equal, and we're taught to meet our different needs, abilities, and levels of understanding. Thus, each school should respect and praise the others. This is the true practice of the first harmony. The second harmony is abiding by the same precepts. When we live and practice together, we need to have rules and regulations, for without them there will be disorder. Needless to say, the rules need to include the 5 fundamental precepts set by the Buddha. Rules vary for lay sanghas and those at way places. The former conforms to the 5 fundamental precepts, the latter to the monk or nun precepts. In addition, common rules, regulations, and local laws and customs are also to be observed. These will all comprise the permanent resident agreement of a way place. 1 or 2 members can be designated to draw up the rules, which are then presented to the group for discussion and then for voting. Each individual living in the way place must abide by the agreement once it is set up. If every member respects and abides by the agreement, there will be no discord among the group, because all have equal status, and no special privileges are granted to any one person. Thus, the Sangha is truly democratic and law-abiding. The third harmony is living and practicing together harmoniously. The purpose in establishing a way place is to help everyone achieve in group practice. It is definitely not to help individuals escape their responsibilities. It is a serious mistake to think in this way, especially in the light of all the offerings way places receive from followers. and the reality that every offering will have to be repaid, if not in this lifetime, then in future lifetimes. The manner of living together does not mean that each person has his own or her own room. If luxurious and comfortable facilities are available, it will be very difficult to achieve. Why? The Earth Treasure Sutra tells us that every single movement or stirring of thoughts on the part of living beings is karma and is an offense. For uncountable eons, we have been deluded and confused, and thus we have committed infinite wrongdoings. Consequently, we have developed and accumulated many bad habits. When we are with others, we usually try to be civilized and to behave ourselves. But when alone, we tend to indulge ourselves in doing whatever we feel comfortable with, and we easily forget proper conduct. To counter this, members of the group share sleeping quarters. These quarters in a traditional way place are comprised of one large platform bed with a space for each person. Quilts are neatly folded as in an army barracks. Life in a way place was even more rigorous than life in the army, and the monks and nuns were even more disciplined than the soldiers were. Only by living in such a disciplined manner are we able to mold our temperament and to reform ourselves through the three learnings of self-discipline, deep concentration, and wisdom. This is true cultivation. However, in the Sangha, there are some exceptions. For example, the managing monk and the executive deputy chief, due to their responsibilities, have their own rooms, which is usually very small. This is in order to keep disturbing others when they are performing their tasks. Monks and nuns who are aged or ill also have their own rooms. To accomplish our cultivation, this shared living is necessary, even in today's affluent society. The fourth harmony is not quarreling. All the members who live together need to do so without quarreling. In this way, they can best concentrate their efforts on cultivation. When people are together, the most frequent act is that of speech. So speech karma is the easiest karma to commit. We have a proverb: illness enters by the mouth, trouble exits by the mouth. Another is, more speech, more trouble. One who eats too much easily becomes sick. One who talks too much easily gets into trouble. Sometimes misunderstandings will arise because the listener is sensitive while the speaker is careless. Both parties can develop resentment and hatred, which gives rise to endless retaliation in the future. This is why ancient sages advised us to talk less and chant more. The less we speak, the better it is, for less trouble we will be in. Ideally, we will only speak when it is necessary. When I was in Los Angeles, a friend told me about the 3-day Zen retreat his high school son had just returned from. Once inside, no one was allowed to talk. The daily practice was sitting meditation from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and then from 7:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Nothing else was done. Keeping silent in such a way place like this will help us to calm down and to relax. The boy was so impressed that he wanted to go back for the longer winter session. The distinctive feature of such a way place is the harmony of silence and of no quarreling. So at a strict way place, where chatting and other irrelevant talk is forbidden, there is virtually no opportunity for quarreling. Almost exclusively, all we find is silent or the voiced chanting of Amitabha in the chanting hall. In a Tibetan way place, the chanting of mantras is ceaseless. For instance, during my early stage of Buddhist study, I was under the guidance of living Buddha, Master Zhang Jia, for 3 years. Through my observation, he never stopped silently chanting a mantra while moving his lips, even when he was with visitors. He only paused to talk, and then, as soon as he was finished, he resumed his silent chanting. This silent chanting, while moving our lips, is called diamond holding. Master Zhang Jia was one of the most sincere practitioners I have ever met. His mind was pure, without any attachments or wandering thoughts. His teaching method was unique. He never spoke a word until he found the listener attentive and concentrated. He then spoke only a few words while looking directly into the listener's eyes. Each of his words bore heavy weight, which his listener would never forget and would adhere to for the rest of his or her life. The goal of our practice is to eradicate all afflictions and to attain the Buddha name chanting samadhi. If we do not practice this method, it would be very difficult for us to achieve attainment. The fifth harmony is experiencing the inner peace and joy that comes from practicing together harmoniously. This is to savor the Dharma joy. Whichever method we choose, the basic achievement in our practice is to attain happiness. If we feel unhappy after beginning our practice, we have definitely encountered a serious problem. But the problem does not lie with the Buddha's teachings. We may have done something that goes against the teachings, or we may have chosen the wrong method for us. Otherwise, the results would be evident. Awakening from confusion and obsession, leaving sufferings behind, and obtaining happiness. With each passing year, we would have fewer worries, while enjoying greater happiness, greater freedom. This is the evidence of success in our practice. If we are not achieving this, then we need to re-examine ourselves for the cause of our lack of success. If we can find and correct our mistakes, find the root of our afflictions, and sever them, we can then attain the true benefits from our practice. Practicing Buddhism is to experience life and to train our minds. Buddhist cultivation arises from our hearts as we practice in everyday life. What kind of heart do we cultivate? The heart of purity. When we have proper viewpoints and understanding, and truly dedicate ourselves to Buddhism, then regardless of who we are, of what our circumstances are, whether good or bad, favorable or unfavorable, we will be able to reduce karmic debts and to plant the seeds of good fortune, wisdom, and happiness. Then, how can we be unhappy? A feeling of joy will naturally arise from our hearts as we savor the Dharma joy. If we practice together harmoniously, everybody will attain this Dharma joy. Everybody will attain achievement. The sixth harmony is sharing benefits equally. In ancient way places, in ancient times, ordained people led a very simple life with one meal a day. They received food donated by people in the village, rested under the trees at night, and cultivated constantly. So the way place was more like a school to educate the local community on Buddhism. Learned and far-sighted people built them with the financial support from those who were wealthy and well-respected, and who had high status in the community. Then, well-known and respected monks were invited to come and teach. Way places were Buddhist educational institutions where everyone shared equally. If this principle was applied to society, there would be no psychological imbalance, and hence there would be no social disturbance. At way places, none of the 6 harmonies can be neglected, or else there will not be a true Sangha. As the Chinese say, harmony in the family is the basis for any undertaking. Similarly, if a country is united, it will be very difficult for another country, for another power to dominate it, because the power of unity is inconceivable. Consequently, if a family, a group, a company, or a country can practice 3 of the 6 harmonies of sharing the same viewpoints or goals, observing the same precepts, and sharing benefits equally, they will be prosperous. We find an example in the business world where Japanese business developed dramatically after the Second World War. After only half a century, these businesses were among the most successful in the world. Why? Because they practiced these 3 harmonies. By sharing the same viewpoints and goals, the Sangha can reach common understanding. By abiding by the same precepts, by abiding by the same rules and regulations, by sharing all benefits equally, everyone is assured that there will be fairness in all things. The importance of harmony also holds for the family. As the Chinese say, harmony in the family is the basis for any undertaking. One day, a student of mine asked for my opinion as to the kind of person he should marry. I told him, you should try to find someone who has the same viewpoints, the same goals as you. Then you will be able to help each other and enjoy a happy life. You cannot just emphasize love, for love is volatile. Love is unreliable. It may fade after the 2 of you get married, at which point everything can change. Therefore, a happy family life is built upon the basis of the 6 harmonies. If we do not understand this, it will be very difficult for us to have a happy family life. We know that the very nature of Buddhism is education. It encompasses a large number of subjects which cover the perfect knowledge of life and the universe. The textbooks for these subjects are sutras. However, not all of the sutras in India were brought to China. Because of the difficulties of the long journey between China and India in ancient times. Both the Indian monks who visited China and the Chinese monks who went to India had to limit the number of books they could bring into China. They selected the most important ones and had to leave the others behind. So all the books that were introduced into China were considered the essence, the very cream of Buddhism. However, after their introduction, not all of the books could be translated. Further screening had to be done, and only the best and most essential were translated. The project was financed by the central government. Experts who were monks and lay people from all over China, as well as from foreign countries, were invited to participate in the mammoth translation effort. According to historical records, Master Kumaraja's translation team had more than 400 people, while Master Xuanzang's institute had over 600 translators. The name of the translator that we see today on the sutra is the chief of the institute and represents all of the members of the Translation Institute. The Chinese sutras that we have today are fairly complete. However, the Indian Sanskrit versions have largely been lost, with few remaining. After the Chinese sutras, the largest existing collection is that of Tibet. Part of this collection was translated from the Sanskrit, and the rest came from the Chinese versions. Princess Wancheng of the Tang dynasty brought the Chinese sutras to Tibet when she was married to the Tibetan king. This is why the introduction of Buddhism to Tibet was some 600 years later than the introduction from India to China. As the Tibetan king built up belief in Buddhism, a new school from India found its way into Tibet. An important part of these teachings are the three learnings of abiding by the precepts of self-discipline, deep concentration, and wisdom. Accomplishment of these can relieve the suffering of this world. Buddha Shakyamuni told us how long Buddhism would remain in our world. The Dharma Perfect Age would last for 500 years. The Dharma Semblance Age would last for 1,000 years. And the Dharma Ending Age, which we are now in, would last for 10,000 years. What are the sufferings of the beings in our current age? The first is committing the wrongdoings of the 10 bad conducts. The Buddha taught us the first learning of self-discipline to overcome these. The second suffering is the inability to remain serene and calm. The Buddha taught us the second learning of deep concentration to achieve purity of mind, to achieve tranquility. The third learning is suffering. The Buddha taught us the third learning of wisdom to overcome our current state of ignorance. Committing wrongdoings, being confused, and remaining in ignorance are three of the major problems of sentient beings in our contemporary world. The Buddha will teach when these sufferings afflict the beings in our world. However, if the beings are not ill, there will be no need for the Buddha to teach. The Diamond Sutra says, in the end, we even have to lay aside the Buddha's teachings, let alone worldly teachings. When beings are well, the Buddha's teachings are unnecessary, and introducing them might even lead to more problems. This is similar to a healthy person taking medicine every day and eventually falling ill. Self-discipline cures our body. Deep concentration cures our mind, and wisdom cures our behavior. Therefore, a person who practices Buddhism is wise in thought, speech, and behavior. So how could such a person be unhappy? Now that we understand the three conditions, the three learnings, and the 6 principles of harmony, how do we use them in our daily lives when interacting with people, matters, and objects? To answer this, Buddha Shakyamuni gave us the 6 paramitas of giving, abiding by the precepts, patience, diligence, deep concentration, and wisdom. If we follow these in everything we do, from brushing our teeth in the morning to going to bed at night, we will be genuinely practicing. The first of the 6 paramitas is the paramita of giving. Generally speaking, the majority of people seek wealth as their foremost pursuit, for without it, life can be very hard. After this, people pursue intelligence and wisdom, health and long life. Regardless of whether they are in the East or in the West, whether they have lived either in the past or are currently living. These are the major pursuits of humankind. If Buddhism is supposed to fill our wishes? Can it provide these things for us? We have heard that in Buddhism, every sincere wish will receive a response. Then why have most people not received what they wished for? They are not aware of the true reality of life and the universe, nor the right method to fulfill their wishes. If we understand these principles and truths, all of our wishes can be fulfilled. The Buddha taught us that wealth, wisdom, and long life are all karmic results. If we want to obtain the results, we must first nurture and establish the cause. Good causes result in good results. Bad causes result in bad consequences. Where there is a cause, there will be a result. And where there is a result, there was a cause. This is a law that never changes, and the law around which all other laws in the universe revolve. Consider someone who is wealthy. How did this happen? It is not because this person is unusually clever or has better ideas than other people. Many other people are cleverer or have better ideas. Why are they not successful? The Buddha taught us that having wealth is the karmic result of a cause planted in former lifetimes. What was this cause? It was the giving of wealth. The giving of wealth results in our obtaining wealth. The giving of teaching results in obtaining wisdom. And the giving of fearlessness results in obtaining long life and healthy lives. Therefore, if we wish to have health, wealth, wisdom, and long and happy lives, we need to nurture these three causes in our current lifetimes. Only a small number of people obtain the results from causes they planted earlier in their current lifetime. Regardless of the time frame, we must develop the cause to receive the result. This is the law of cause and effect. And this law never changes. Giving is the most important requirement for practicing the Bodhisattva way. If we could sum up all the methods in Buddhism, we would find that all methods accord with the 6 paramitas. when we condense the 6 paramitas, we find that their essence is giving. One of the types of giving is that of wealth. When most people hear this, they often think of donating money to a group, a church, a temple, a way place. This is wrong because such thinking is too narrow and is far from the true Bodhisattva way. Selflessly remembering the welfare of others is the giving of wealth. Thus, everybody is practicing the giving paramita daily. And in this way, we are emulating bodhisattvas. We are just not aware of it. For example, when we get up in the morning and prepare breakfast for the family, we are practicing giving and kindness, as did Universal Worthy Bodhisattva. By doing so, we will be happy. In this way, we will have no thought of, poor me. My family regards me as a servant. I have to wait on them every day. If we complain like this, all the good fortune we have achieved will vanish. But once we change our complaints and problems into the paramita of giving, we will immediately enjoy the benefits of the joy and the wisdom of the teachings. An employee who works hard every day to make as much money as possible or to receive a promotion is not practicing giving. However, if this employee works hard just to benefit the company and society and not for the sake of money or for the sake of promotion, he or she is cultivating giving and will never be tired. I myself enjoy traveling around the world to help people to understand the Buddha's teachings, and in this way am practicing the giving of teaching. I help others to understand better how to change their lives in the hope that they will be able to reduce their troubles, obtain joy and wisdom, and thus be able to lead better lives. In 1984, I made my 3rd trip to Los Angeles. I went straight from the airport to the site where the speech was being held and began a talk that lasted 9 hours. I delivered the talk while standing, but at the end it was the listeners who were tired, not I. The longer I spoke, the more energized I felt, and the stronger my voice became. Why? Because I was so enthused about introducing the profound and subtle Buddhism to the listeners. This is the joy of teaching Buddhism, and frankly, is the best nutrition. Nowadays, people talk a great deal about health food, but it is false nutrition. Buddhists talk of keeping a pure, quiet, and happy heart. Having this heart and obtaining this joy will enable us to remain healthy and young. Worry will only make us old and sick. In the U.S., some social practices are giving. Most people pay for medical insurance, for protection against catastrophic medical bills in the event they become ill. However, we make preparations for a possible illness as we make our monthly premium payments. If we do so, then we are bound to become ill. If we do not, then we will have wasted our money. But if we change our way of viewing this to the thought that our money has been used to help those that are sick, then we will have practiced giving and will never become ill. Why? Because we have developed the cause of no illness. If we give to and look after aged people, we will receive good karmic results in the future. When we ourselves become aged, then others will come to take care of us. Today, most people have car insurance. If we think that we are making payments just to help those who may encounter accidents, then we will never encounter misfortune, because we have given of wealth and compassion. So our way of thinking makes the difference in whether we are a bodhisattva or an ordinary person. What is this difference? A bodhisattva is an awakened being and always thinks of benefiting others, whereas ordinary people are always thinking of benefiting themselves. When we do everything for others, we can get wonderful results, too wonderful to imagine. The kinds of giving are boundless and can be practiced any time, any day, any way. In Buddhism, the giving of wealth consists of external and internal wealth. External wealth is comprised of worldly possessions, whereas internal wealth concerns our body. For example, organ donation is an example of the internal giving of wealth, as is helping others physically. If we volunteer to help others without expectation of reward, we are again practicing the giving of internal wealth. We can practice this giving of internal wealth anytime. We can see that in the Buddhist criteria for good and bad, all deeds arising from the wish to help others are good, and all deeds arising from selfishness are bad. This may be difficult for beginners to follow. Why should we not benefit ourselves? The reason why ordinary people cannot attain Buddhahood is due to the two attachments of self and all knowledge. By ridding ourselves of self-attachment, we attain the level of arhat. By ridding ourselves of the knowledge attachment, we attain Buddhahood. If we have every thought to benefit ourselves, our self-attachment will grow daily. Even as we plant some good causes, we will only increase our attachments. The Buddha told us that if we wish to transcend the cycle of birth and death, we must rid ourselves of both self and of the knowledge attachment. Self-attachments are afflictions that hinder us from attaining purity of mind. Knowledge attachments hinder us from uncovering our all-knowing wisdom, from uncovering our true wisdom. The second form of giving brings us wisdom, intelligence, and skill. Generally, it falls into two categories: Buddhist teachings and worldly teachings. To enthusiastically impart all of our knowledge to others who are interested in learning is the giving of teachings. It is not limited to the teachings of Buddhism. It could be teaching others cooking, engineering, etc. It is the unconditional and free imparting of knowledge or skills in any field. A school teacher who instructs out of the sincere desire to help others is also practicing the giving of teaching. A teacher who does so just to earn a living or prestige is not. A genuine practitioner of the giving of the Dharma is very enthusiastic and is never weary of giving. When we give for self-benefit, we will become disappointed as soon as we fail to obtain prestige or other benefits, and we will thus lose our enthusiasm. On the other hand, a bodhisattva is always compassionately working for the benefit of others and never attaches any conditions to what is given. In the Infinite Life Sutra, the Buddha tells us that of all the kinds of giving, that of giving the Dharma is foremost. Worldly teachings do not get to the heart of the matter. Buddhism is a perfect education which can help us to attain the boundless wisdom, virtue, and skill to enable us to be free of all worries, to leave the cycle of birth and death, to put an end to the cycle of reincarnation, and ultimately to attain Buddhahood. This giving is perfect and remarkable, and is only found in Mahayana Buddhism. All Buddhas praise this giving. In Buddhism, the most important giving is that of books, audio and videotapes, CDs, as well as that of accepting others' invitations to lecture, and thus to create opportunities for others to learn the Buddha's teachings. However, many currently circulated Buddhist materials are printed with copyright warnings. These are not the giving of Dharma, but are commercial endeavors. Some Dharma masters, when requested to speak, ask how much they will be paid. These are not the true giving of Dharma. The act of a bodhisattva is to benefit, to teach others, not the self. If a person truly wanted to learn Buddhism, a bodhisattva would simply go to them to fulfill their wish. They would never do anything that would make it difficult for any person who was willing to learn, as long as the person could receive the true benefits from Buddhism. The giving of fearlessness has broad implications, as it helps to remove all the fears and insecurities of others. For example, if foreign forces were invading our country, we could join the army to protect the security of the citizens. If someone was afraid to go home alone at night, we could offer to go with him or her. Being a vegetarian is another example, because if we all followed this principle, then all living creatures would no longer regard us as a threat. Any act that helps sentient beings feel safe and secure is the giving of fearlessness.